Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Slave Food Project, where Dr. Walsh and Dr. Batiste will examine the taste of freedom, which is the culminating segment of our series where they will discuss stories of overcoming mental and physical disease through plant based eating and lifestyle. The Slave Food Project is the journey of two African American physicians as they examine the role of racism as a unique form of stress and the weaponization of food in the creation of health disparities in the African American communities, irrespective of income. They discover eating a whole food, plant based diet in urban communities is possible and is key to eliminating health disparities. Dr. Columbus Batiste is a board certified cardiologist and chief of cardiology in Southern California. Dr. Batiste's mission is to share information so that each one can teach one about the benefits of plant based nutrition, daily exercise, and stress reduction. This mission has led to the formation of a nonprofit organization called the Healthy Heart Nation, which provides education through lectures, newsletters, social, and digital media. Dr. Eric Walsh was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He is a graduate of the University of Miami School of Medicine, Loma Linda University School of Public Health, where he received his master's and doctorate in public health. Dr. Walsh has embarked on his own plant based journey and, as a result, has lost more than 70 pounds by adopting this lifestyle. Dr. Walsh has committed his life to speaking around the globe through his preaching and healing ministries. This week's special guests are Chef Babette, who is a world class healthy chef, fitness expert, and motivational speaker. She runs a successful restaurant called Stuff I Eat in downtown Inglewood, California, and has built a loyal fan base through her social media platforms. We are also joined by Eric Adams, who is the borough president of Brooklyn, New York City. Adams served as an officer in the New York City Transit Police and then the New York City Police Department for 22 years. In November 2013, Adams was elected Brooklyn Borough President, the first African American to hold the position. In November 2017, he was reelected and is currently running for mayor of New York City. Welcome, special guest. Enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start off. I am overjoyed to have both of you on. I have to start first with the Queen, Chef Babette. You are always incredible. Incredible to lay eyes on, incredible to taste the food you prepare. As I told you the other day, I'm just excited. I'm excited. I'm gonna try and control myself during this conversation, but I'm excited.
Calm down. It's all good.
I know. It's no, it's good stuff. And to my borough president, Eric Adams, I know the humble man. And I'll tell you, your story means so much, and I know you're going to get into it, because for what folks don't know is this upcoming week is the unfortunate anniversary of the 10-year anniversary of my dad's death, August 12th. And my father-in-law passed in January. And so for my dad, it was the complications of diabetes. So hearing the power of your story just means so much to me. And I know you're a humble man, and I know I expect big things from you out of New York City coming up over the next year or two. Folks need to stay tuned and look out for what this man has on the horizon. All right. And there's some special things, as well as we know that there are some other special things in terms of books that may be coming out. And I'm excited. So I want you to follow both of these individuals there. And my partner in crime, Eric Walsh, good to see you. He's weathered the storm, so to speak.
Oh yeah, we had this tropical storm. I still don't have power. I was trying to get. I went and bought the last generator at Lowe's, and I swear I thought I was gonna get in a fight like Black Friday. So I got home, set it up, and the internet is down too. So of course we didn't know that until we got power. So I had to run to one of my offices. I'm back in a warehouse. I normally don't have this ugly of a background, but Chef Babette is one of my heroes, and we spent a lot of time together in Compton, in Inglewood, at her restaurant, and she's always been so kind. And every time I walk into a restaurant and you see me, you know what makes me so happy? She leaves the back, comes around, gives me a hug, and makes, I don't care how bad my day was, she makes my day. So, I'm absolutely just overwhelmed with joy. It's just good to see you. I'm on the East Coast now, closer to Brooklyn, actually.
Okay.
And I've heard wonderful things. You have a great first name, by the way. We share our first names, and I've heard great things out of you. My uncle and my cousins live on Winthrop, Pitkin, back up in East New York.
Okay.
So I spent a good bit of time in Brooklyn as well.
Love it.
On the planet of Brooklyn. Appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
Columbus is going to lead tonight, but we appreciate you too, because listen, we're trying to get a message out to our people around health, and I've had some really strong conversations with Chef Babette over the years. She's one of my inspirations around all of what we're going to talk about tonight. And I've seen your Columbus definitely has inspired me as well through your story, Borough President. So I know this is going to be amazing tonight. So let's get this underway. I'm turning it back over to Columbus, and he'll lead.
Yeah, no. Well, there's no leading. This is going to be a family conversation here tonight. So what this is going to be. So we want folks to kind of peer into us just being on the sofa in someone's living room, and we just go back and forth. But just to bring you all up to speed where we're at in this whole venture here is that slave food is really a project of love. It's a project, a passion project to deliver information to really basically everyone in our communities. And it's applicable to everyone across the United States is what we see. And so one of the key things is that we walk folks through the evolution of why do Black people in America die sicker and sooner? And as we take them through this evolution of stress and racial discrimination and the role of food as nutritional stress, looking not only at the way in which we adopted this food historically, a food that was given that was refused, the refuse that was given off, to the food in which we were subject to as you look at the evolution of inner cities that maybe are the result of actions and so forth, and this springing up of food deserts and food swamps where individuals now live in these environments. But there's hope. And that's what this episode is about. So we speak to the breaking the chains and how you can break the chains of disease, break the chains of addiction, and come out to a newfound freedom, a taste of freedom, something that can be inspiring to others around you, that you can pull them back where you've come. And that's precisely what this episode is about. And so let's bring you full circle, really, in the conversation of why you all are so important in this conversation. So let's just jump in. So we'll say ladies first. Ladies first. Tell us about your transformation. I mean, how did you get to this point of like just being all of you, this health transformation? How did you get there? Fill us in.
It's such an amazing journey. I met my husband, Ron, in 1990. I was about to turn 40 years old. It was in the spring of 1990. I was going to be 40 in December. And he shared books with me, Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond, and The Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. Now, he was cute, flirting. Okay, I read the books. Somebody had already tried to sell me some herbs. I'm like, oh. And then when you start talking about veganism and vegetarian, I'm like, that's a Hare Krishna. They're vegetarians, not me. I read these books, and as soon as I read Fit for Life, because I'd been challenged with digesting my food properly, I had massive issues. I could not use the bathroom. Women have a challenge anyway, but when we eat poorly, it becomes even greater. I always had the worst indigestion ever, and nowadays I just find it to be so disgusting that you actually have to medicate yourself after you eat. It's just, back then it was a normal thing, but today it just seems asinine. And so after reading these books, the Mucusless Diet Healing System just really put the icing on the cake for me. I don't know if you all are familiar with it, if you've read it or not. However, this guy was just completely an Arnold Ehret before his time. He said, all disease, I don't care what name you give that disease, is just an overload of mucus and toxins in your system. Period. You can call it whatever you want to call it. That's what's up.
Hmm.
And you need to go mucusless. And so I read these books, and overnight I decided to change. And as I got into the Fit for Life, which is all about food combining, they're not really telling you not to be vegan. They're just saying if you're going to eat animal products, you need to know what to eat them with. I began food combining. I went completely vegan. The eczema, I got off sugar. I got off dyes, preservatives. I cleaned it up. I completely cleaned it up. And I never felt better. I never felt better. That was in 1990. Here we are in 2020. I'll be 70 years old in December.
Come on now.
I can't even believe it myself. Come on now. 70. And it's almost as if the aging process just got real slow after I transitioned. You know what I mean? Because I stayed on it. I never deviated. We were like, okay, we're vegan now, period. When we got married, it was like, you think we should have some chicken? He was like, do we eat chicken? No. And this is what we eat. And that's how the restaurant came up. It was just food that we ate at home, and we decided we wanted to share. But trust me when I tell you, I was so challenged. I had asthma, eczema. And I hated eating. I hated eating.
Wow.
Yeah, I was miserable every time I ate.
That's incredible. I mean, because one of the things we always talk about is and we're not the first to do it, but really the transformation of the epigenes, the epigenome that changes. We talk about the extension of the telomere. So when you talk about turning the dial of aging backwards, right? There's studies that really confirm that. And you look that way. I mean, there's no signs of eczema when we look at you. You know, we see your workout videos when you're in there kind of going at it. So that doesn't seem like any features of asthma at all to me. So that's incredible. That's incredible.
I know. I'm still running hills. I'm still doing. I can do whatever. I can do a 4-minute plank. I just amaze myself because, of course, I see friends and family members, and we grew up together, and I realize that I made the correct move. I made the correct decision. My sister, who was 5 years younger than myself, because of her lifestyle and the choices that she made, when she transitioned, she looked like my grandma. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
And this is not to say I didn't love my sister. We made different choices, period. And so my thing is, you know, when I say we're the mamas and papas of civilization and we brought knowledge to this planet, it is time for us to wake up again. It saddens me that we have just been so bamboozled. Of course, there were certain things that we had to eat back then, but we ain't got to eat that now.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, Eric, Borough President, tell us about your story. Tell us about you.
First, I'm not going to allow the West Coast to take claim to appreciating the chef because you have a following here on the East Coast. So, you know, if you ever hear, be clear that you are welcome here. You know, and I think there was a couple of things I took note of. Number one, I want that book because I like to continuously give people information on books. So tell me that name, the mucus book again.
Yeah,
the mucusless diet.
Mucus.
It's the mucusless diet by Arnold Ehrhart.
Okay.
There it is. It's up on the screen now.
Okay, great. And so, and the title, Slave Food, and to all the listeners, people need to be clear. We're not talking down to people. No. You know, we are speaking to our people because as I've been in some dark places in my life, and even, prior to coming into policing, I did not want to be a cop. I was beat bad by police officers at 15, and I went through a period from 15 to 18 of really experiencing PTSD. I couldn't listen to I couldn't hear a police siren without living that beating. I could not see a police movie. I could not hear anyone talk about it. And the precinct that beat me was the 103rd precinct. If I hear the number 103, I think about that issue. And my brother and I think my brother to this day is still going through some serious mental health issues because of it. So being in a dark place is what it means to be a black man. And, you find your way transitioning out. But I thought my years in the police department as the founder of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, fighting for civil rights. When you think of Black Lives Matter and the movement, I'm hoping people will go Google and see what our organization did. We were law enforcement officers that fought the system within, because civil rights leaders asked me to go into the police department. I didn't want to go in. When they asked me to go in, I said, you got to be out of your mind. I had so much respect for them that I went in and fought for 22 years and retiring as a captain. But it wasn't until I became the first black borough president in Brooklyn. If Brooklyn was a separate city, it would be the third largest city in America. For other municipalities, the borough president is probably considered what you would call your county executive. I was experiencing some serious pains in my stomach. I was out of the country. I thought sure it was colon cancer because I lost a friend at a young age to colon cancer, and it wouldn't move. It was just sitting there. And men, man, you gotta drag us to the hospital, So at the same time, when I got back to the country, I woke up that day. I couldn't see the alarm clock, the numbers, and so I lost my sight in my left eye, and right eye was also diminishing badly. And I was getting these tingling in my hands and feet for about a month, but I just ignored. I couldn't even feel my right thigh. I thought it was from playing ball that I had nerve damage. And so I sort of just dismissed it, went to the doctor, had a colonoscopy, and also he checked my stomach. And when I came out of sedation, he looked at my numbers. He says, Eric, you have the pain you're feeling in your stomach is an ulcer. He said, but your real problem is your diabetes. You at a coma level. He said, I am shocked you're not in a coma. And he says that vision loss, he said, that's diabetes. A lot of people don't know that diabetes is the number one cause of blindness. Number one cause of non-trauma limb amputation. He says the nerve damage you're feeling could eventually lead to to limb amputation. And so I remember I walked into that doctor's office with no medicine. I left with medicine for my ulcer, 3 medicines for my diabetes, including insulin, medicine for my cholesterol that was high, my blood pressure that was high. I was like Dwayne Reed's in Walgreens by the time I walked out. I had so much medicine that was given to me. And, it was interesting because as the county executive, I called 5 of the top presidents of my hospitals and said, listen, I need your best endocrinologist because I want to fight this thing. And they all told me the same thing. Listen, it's hereditary. Your mother's diabetic. Mom was diabetic for 15 years at the time, 7 years taking insulin. My sisters and brothers were going through, their medical issues. All of them were either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And they said, it's in your DNA. And I just refused to believe it. I refused. My Noah told me that this is not resonating. And I knew at that time, I knew that our body is an unbelievable instrument, and I was going to give it a real fight. And you know what's interesting, doctors and chef, when they told me I was diabetic, there was a moment that I said, well, you knew this was coming. You get to a certain age, these medical issues happen. And there was a feeling of, you knew it was only a matter of time. And, and what's really important, that white coat and stethoscope is a powerful position that many of us relinquish even our basic logic to. Wow. If our doctors tell us something, we don't even try to search any further, and particularly Black and brown people and our elders, and so I decided that I'm not going to, I'm not going out this way. I'm not a doctor, but you know what? I was an ex-cop. I know how to do investigations, and damn it, I knew how to read.
Come on now.
So I went to the computer, and one change of a word changed my entire pathway. Instead of putting into the Google search living with diabetes, what all the pamphlets had, I put in the Google search reversing diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me on another journey. And that's why I'm here right now, able to see you through the screen.
Nice.
That's
Amen.
powerful. Let me jump in real
Nice.
quick, Columbus, and just say this. I want to say something that the borough president just said. I want to emphasize something he said that is critical to understand. When you go into a medical office as an African American, and I'm gonna leave this just with us, and they tell you that this is genetic, this is in your DNA. What I want you to understand is that to some extent, that is a statement that inherently you're inferior. There's to some extent. Now,
Love it.
every doctor is a little bit different, granted. But when I was in medical school, because we carry a disproportionate burden of disease in our people, it seemed as like we were always being told Black people are inferior. They have more of this. They have more of this. They have more of this. More of this.
Right. Well said.
Never made sense to me until I was doing my other doctorate, my second doctorate, and it had a lot to do with stress. Once I understood stress and how it impacts the body, and we did an episode on the stress equation. We'll come back to that in another episode. I started to understand why this happened. It isn't genetics. It is really a chronic, constant burden of stress that if you eat to the stress, the foods that make you feel better under that stress are like cocaine, like heroin, like all those other things. They literally make you feel better. So you self-medicate. But what do you self-medicate with?
Yes.
Slave food.
That's
the worst possible thing. So it's not genetics at all. This is an environmental thing combined with a lack of resources and ability to cope. So, man, I hate that they told you that.
Yes.
But I am also glad that you just said what you just said. Here's the truth. Most doctors don't. It's like from Boys in the Hood. Either they don't know or they don't show what's going on in the hood. A lot of them, either they don't know the truth about these diseases because we're not taught nutrition in medical school, or they just don't care. It's so much easier to write you a prescription with 12 medications and send you out in 15 minutes and say next than it is to stop and say, wait a minute, what's really causing this person's disease?
Right. No, well said. Well said. And you know what? I tell people all the time, it's not our DNA, it's our dinner. It's not your lineage, it's your lunch. It's not where you're born, it's your breakfast.
That's right.
that's what it comes down to. And Dr. Walsh, you just really dropped some real science. Let me tell you, brother. Poverty is profitability. And I crisscross the country and I study cities and look at cities. I don't care where you go. The four of us sitting in this room. We're doing fine, but people profit off of the Black and brown community in general, but specifically Black and brown men. There's so much profit in ensuring Black and brown men stay where they are. And this food is just one part of it, but it's
one part of it.
Right. The economics that comes out of the dysfunctionality of Black and brown men is so profitable. The clinics that open, the drugs. Imagine if I would have taken
the prison industrial complex.
There you go, brother. If I would have taken those drugs, they would have had me for the rest of their lives. And let me tell you something. This bad food is crack.
Yes, it is.
I would never look down on someone hooked on crack again in my life, because day two, when I woke up dreaming about food, I said to myself, Eric, you're addicted. I had sweats. I had withdrawals of stop eating the food that I was eating. And we are addicted to this food. And so we got to give the same nurturing to people and respect the fact that they're addicted, and we got to wean them off of what they are addicted to, as in any other drug that we are finding people addicted to.
Amen. Amen. That's right. That's right. Sure.
Yeah, Well, when you talk about addictions, I was addicted to crack, and so in terms of, I thought to myself, once I healed from that, it was a short bout with it, and I had, of course, had the conversation with myself. But once I transitioned into the whole vegan lifestyle and got off the drugs, it was all about, you are number one in your world.
That's right.
And you are going to, this is the greatest gift that the universe could have given
That's right.
you.
That's
the
right.
opportunity to walk this thing called life.
Yep.
It's a very limited amount of time that you have here.
That's
but
right.
you want to be up and moving. You do not want to be sick.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Because longevity is great, but quality is greater.
Yes.
When it
Health
comes
span.
to you, Eric,
Yeah, health span.
I am so glad you did what you did and made sure you took care of yourself. Because I hear too many times, brothers and sisters, well, all of us, my diabetes, my heart disease, my cancer, no, it is not you.
That's right.
Those
Love it.
things are
Love it.
intrinsic.
Self-fulfilling
That's
prophecy.
right.
They do not belong
That's right.
to you, and they do not belong as a part of your being.
Right.
It is the cancer that I'm
Right.
friggin' getting rid of. It is the heart disease that I'm done with. It's
That's
not
right.
mine. None of this
That's
belongs
right.
to me.
I love that.
So, you know, when I you know, family members, they are the ones that hurt you the most, because
Yes.
I've been on this journey since 1990. We in 2020 right now. I only got 5 fingers. I can count on one hand how many people have transitioned. But I've been going to a lot of funerals.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
Well said.
Wow.
Well said. Well said. And you're right. And you're right. And you know, mom, you know, I'm very close to my mom. She has 6 children, and she loves them all. She's an amazing woman, but she adores me. I'm like her favorite, you know, and I let them know that every day, you know. But mom at 80, she called me. She says, "Baby," like I said, she was diabetic for 15 years at the time, 7 years on insulin, and mom taking 9 medication. Mom said, "Baby, I'm watching you. I'm seeing the talks," and I didn't want to push her.
Wow.
Because you have to get this on your own.
Nice.
And mom, you know, mommy said, "Listen, I want to try." She went plant-based for 2 months.
What?
After 2 months, she called me in tears and said they took me off insulin.
Wow.
Her first
Oh my
doctor,
God.
and this is going back to
Wow.
what you were saying, Dr. Walsh, her first doctor
Wow.
dropped her as a patient because she said she wanted to try to get off medicine. He said, "If you try to do that, I'm no longer going to be your doctor." I had to find her another plant-based doctor. But that's the danger of those who try to hold us back from getting real nutritionally based. And that's why this movement we're doing, and this is so important because, you know, Chef Davis, you know, sisters need to see you.
Amen.
You know, they need to see your beauty, that's radiant beauty of yours that comes from you, how you're coming from the place, and they need to see the possibilities, because the weight of life is tearing down Black women.
Yes.
And then when
Yes.
you add that with the food, you're not building up your strength. Because let me tell you something else that happened that was really amazing. Not only did my diet change, my universe changed.
Oh, that's
The clarity of my mind, you know,
Yes.
my ability to, you know, the meditation is part of my life, how I interact with people, how I handle stress, how I view life as a whole. And, you know, I dropped 35 pounds. You know, I don't have a 6-pack. I have a case, man. My body's so tight. But it's, how do you feel about yourself? And you know what's interesting, doctors? Some of my most intellectual Black power folks I know go to a level of buffoonery when you start talking about the slave food that they're consuming. You know that?
You know,
all of that.
There's always several things you don't talk about. I learned this a long time ago for people. You don't talk about religion, politics, your spouse's mother, and you don't talk about someone's food, right? Those are the things. But until we're willing to go and engage in those conversations, that's how we can have meaningful changes.
Yes.
But you know, we've said it before, and Eric Walsh says it very well in terms of our stress equation, that resources go where value is placed. And so even as we kind of speak to really the plight of physicians and their lack of knowledge, right? Because that's really boils down to. And if you track the trajectory, and we've said that I've gone through this before, in medical school, value is placed on taking the test, and the test place a value on pharmacology and procedures and physiology, not nutrition. So where do students put their attention? On those things. Now you get out in training, and your residency also puts value on the tests that you have to do to pass your boards. That test, the boards, they put value on pharmacology, procedures, and physiology, not nutrition. So that's where residents focus their time. Now you get out in practice, and our CMS, our government, the reimbursement, they place a value on what? Procedures, pharmacology, numbers, and not nutrition. So what ends up happening? Doctors focus their attention on those things and not nutrition. So it's a system issue. The issue is the system has been broken, which is why America is dying sicker and sooner.
Let me go one level deeper, and that is when you look at how the medical schools are funded. I think that's the scariest part of this is that the reality is that a lot of the research, these are multi-billion-dollar institutions, most of them, and a lot of the research money is coming in from the government, who is highly lobbied by the pharmaceutical industry and the pharmaceutical industry itself to some extent, directly or indirectly. So, I mean, it makes sense, right? They're going to push us down this path because something you said earlier, Borough President, is the truth. If I can get you on a blood pressure pill, you're going to be on a blood pressure pill from now till the day you die. And that might be 30, 40 years. And something Chef Babette said that's powerful is this. It is, we say this as well in Slave Food Project, it's not your lifespan, it's your health span. Yes. America does an incredible job propping people up. When this whole coronavirus thing, people are like, oh my goodness. Listen, what no one is telling you is the impact the condition of the host has on how this virus plays out. Now, I do not by any stretch of the imagination belittle the extent of this virus. But we know that and it came out of New York because New York had the big first surge here. When they looked at who was dying, it was people with chronic diseases, chronic inflammatory diseases to the point of the mucus. So we know enough that we can do differently, but there are forces, and this is partly why our project is the way it is. There are forces at work to push things to where the profit is going to be made. To your point about black men earlier, and I would argue, ethnic minorities in general, because when I was in Guam, a U.S. territory, they were eating Spam and government cheese. I was like, what? When I was in Hawaii, same thing. The little bit of time I've spent on Indian reservations, same thing. Same bad food that is government funded, taxpayer funded, and distributed across all of these groups that have some form of oppression now or in the past is the same. So it's not an accident. And you gotta wake up and fight back.
What's powerful is that we have to have this fight, and that's why in Brooklyn we're doing a whole faith-based initiative where I am trying to get all of my houses of worship to have a health ministry to really engage in this should be communicated from the pulpit. We were able to get the Department of Education. We feed our children 960,000 meals a day. We were able to get them stop purchasing processed meat. Carcinogen. We have meatless Mondays in the school, and part of the initiative I want to do is to use growing food on our rooftops. Let our children grow it, serve it in the cafeteria, and so we're looking to really focus on that area. And we have an amazing program at Bellevue Hospital, one of the first of its kind of lifestyle medicine with Dr. McMacken. 750 people are signed up in the program. On the waiting list, 250 people are signed up, and they're reversing their diseases, getting off their medicine. And so it's an amazing initiative that we're moving forward. Now, here's the dangerous part. People are finding out. I was trying to stay off the radar as much as possible, but now they're finding out what we're doing. And I'm going after some major industries. When you're talking about challenging the pharmaceutical, meat and dairy, when you talk about going after these industries, You talking about some major industries that have profited off our community for so
Yes.
long.
Yes.
And when you trying to be the Nat Turner, there's a price for being that.
Yes.
That's right.
Talking about going in and freeing your people. So we need to get, and I tell my young artists all the time, what you're doing here and what Chef Davis is doing, we need to put this in our music. We need to put this in our raps. We need to, as we talk about Black Lives Matter, we need to start incorporating this into our sayings. This must be part of the movement, because if you don't get with this in the movement, I don't care how much we acquire, your health is your wealth.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That makes so much sense. You keep it in the face. You keep it in our head. You talk about it, and it's not foreign to us. Because the way that we behave, we act like people come into the restaurant. You have not heard of nothing but fatback. I just don't get it. It's like, so what you're saying about putting it out there and saying it and speaking it. Another thing, for all the mothers that are listening, be careful where you pick up your things like peanut butter for your kids.
Right.
I went to CVS. Right. I just wanted a jar of organic peanut butter. Every jar had refined sugar in it. Every single
Isn't that something?
jar.
Wow.
Why are they putting
something?
Why do you need sugar in peanut butter?
Exactly.
It's addictive and it's poison. Why do we pick up food in boxes? Why do we pick up food in boxes? We will feed our family out of boxes and cans, and then we look at the nutritional value. Wrong place. Look at the ingredients. And if you can't pronounce the words, maybe you should not be feeding this to
That's
your
right.
family.
Well said, Chef.
Well
It's just
said.
educating ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's just about educating ourselves. And it just means so much to me because we are so sick. I was talking to you, Dr. Baptiste, and remember I was telling you that I was watching the news on yesterday, and they've given away all this food. God bless. Giving away all this food. You just said something, Dr. Walsh. We're sick because of the way that we eat.
That's right.
Yes.
All the food they're giving away outside of the vegetables was the stuff that's making us sick.
There you go. There you go.
COVID.
Yes.
There you go.
Thanks for
there
the
you
food.
go.
Yes.
But you just gave me poison.
Right.
And I'm not looking down on the gift. I know I'm loud. I'm just saying.
No.
You can be as loud as you want.
Say it.
Be as loud as you want in a virtual room.
Give me some life. Don't give me no damn death. Don't give me death. I'm tired of eating death.
Absolutely.
No, that's real talk. And what's powerful is that's why I sent a letter with Jumaane Williams, the public advocate here. We sent a letter to the Department of Justice over coronavirus because as I started to communicate with legislators across the country, we saw what happened. There were some clear civil rights violations around the food that was fed to our people. You were feeding food to our people that you knew was aggravating. I put out a video to tell people right now is the time to have immune strengthening food. The people should be eating those bell peppers, the broccoli, all of those foods that will boost your immune system. But the conversation must be a real heart-to-heart conversation. And one part of this that's often missed is that if we start to really show people, because I don't like meeting people where I am. I like meeting people where they are and take them where I am.
Absolutely.
And so we do very simple things, showing the power of spices. I mean, it's unbelievable as I started this journey to learn the power of the spices. So every week we teach people different spices on what they use for, showing them how to read labels, because you're right, Chef, how to read labels, what to look for, how to eat healthy on the cheap. You can buy a bag of lentils and have lentil stew. Exactly. Make a lentil burger. Because see, food must look good. It must be good for you, but it has to taste good. God gave
All
us
about the
some time for
flavor.
a reason. You know what I'm saying?
That's
But
right.
showing people how to slowly transition into good tasting, healthy food is what our goal is. Because I don't want you to get frustrated. Because that first 2 weeks for me, I said, good Lord, if I have to eat this stuff. And so I had to lean into and be real about it. And then each week I started learning a new recipe.
Right.
And eventually it grew to 20, 30 recipes. But I slowly said, listen, let me dig into this. Let me experiment. Let me learn how to use different things. I mean, there's a wealth of information on social media. You could just go to Chef Davis's site and you'll get desserts and everything else that you
That's right.
need. But it's about showing our folks how you can get good tasting food and still have a healthy life.
You're right. And can I
Yeah.
just say real quick, it's also about teaching us the importance of leaving the life in the food.
Yes,
We
yes,
wind
yes.
up
Love it.
Speak
eating
on
Yeah.
death.
speak on that.
We
Yes.
eat death all day long. The
Yep.
food in my restaurant, anything outside of the raw stuff is transitional. I'm teaching you how to change your
Yes,
palate.
yes, yes,
But
yes,
it ain't
yes,
a cure.
Love it.
Because
yes.
every time I take that kale and stick it in that pot of water and cook the life out them greens, you ain't got nothing left but death. I want you to
Right.
understand live enzymes. And also don't get tricked on the whole protein myth.
Right,
Them animals
right.
is eating, they eating the shit you supposed to be eating, excuse me. They eating the stuff you supposed to be eating to get the protein. Then you think I'm just gonna get it from him. No, that ain't how protein works. Okay.
Right.
So you need to, y'all Google everything else. Google live enzymes. Google the importance of enzymes. Google the importance of where does my protein, what is protein? What is
Right.
the chemical? What is the chemical makeup of protein? Where in the hell do I get it? You know, it's just like, let's just stop walking around being like our heads is in a bag.
There you go.
But here,
We brought the knowledge to the planet, y'all. Come on,
I
let's
love that
get
energy.
Absolutely.
well,
Nah, you're right.
let me jump in and just say this. The reason we call this slave food is twofold.
on.
One, the master wants to give the slave the food that he doesn't want or he knows will keep you, as I always say it, strong enough to work from can't see morning to can't see night, but not strong enough to rise up and rebel. So
Right.
Oh,
that's
Right.
the first phase of it. The second phase of slave food is you have to still want to be a slave in a sense, right? You're freed from the plantation, but you're craving the food the master gave you, which you knew was inferior food. This is a biblical precept. This is what happened in the wilderness when the children of Israel got out there. God gave them manna. What did they say? We want the flesh pots of Egypt. We want to go back to the food that our slave masters gave us in Egypt. That's what we want to eat. And so
That's powerful.
Bob Marley says it like this. I'm quoting the Bible, Bob Marley, everybody now. Bob Marley said it like this. He says, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery because none but ourselves can free our minds.
Right.
And something that the borough president just said, and Chef Babette kind of highlighted as well, you've got to be willing to go through the wilderness. You got to be willing to go through the tough times.
Right.
This is an addictive process, you know,
Yes.
and so when you look at how some of these foods, so food in and of itself is not supposed to be addictive. Somebody misheard me on another talk. Food is not supposed to be addictive. You eat an apple till you're full and you stop. But the food industry understands the addictive nature of food. That's why it says once you pop, you can't stop. Talking about certain type of chips. It says, bet you can't eat just one.
Right,
Because they know that they have designed this food so that you get it, and there's a bliss point that's reached. There's a crunch-o-meter that they use, so the food is crunchy. So you think you bit an apple, your brain thinks a bit of fresh fruit like an apple, but actually what happened is then it's the vanishing calorie. It dissolves in your mouth, melts in your mouth. Your brain says, wait a minute, we didn't eat nothing. There's no fiber. I don't feel nothing. So you can't stop eating, trying to chase the food, trying to chase the effect that you're supposed to get from the food. You've got to understand that there are shackles. Shackles on our mind, shackles on our taste buds, shackles on our spirit even, and that you have to be intentional about getting away. You mentioned Nat Turner earlier. I could mention a whole bunch of other freedom fighters over the years, but they were intentional. There was a plan, and there was somewhere they were trying to get to. And something Chef Babette told me in her restaurant that actually changed the way I saw food. One time we were there talking, and she told me, she said, "Listen, I don't eat this food regularly anymore." Just like she just said, it's transition food. I eat raw, whole foods at home. And I said, man, I thought it was just enough to just give up certain things. When she said that, I said, actually, you've got to go after living food. You've got to go after whole foods, and you've got to go after things that help to dissolve. The last thing I'm going to say, we jump back in, papayas. I'm allergic to them. So I was telling somebody, one of the other docs I work with who has Crohn's disease said, most people don't know that papaya has an enzyme in it that can naturally help you manage your Crohn's disease.
Wow.
Most people don't know that. And yet they have Crohn's disease taking thousands of dollars a month worth of medicine, ultimately have procedures when they could actually eat to help to manage the disease.
And even broccoli, what broccoli does with autism, how it helps instead of having to overdose your child. There's some amazing studies on broccoli. I just helped a young lady who had MS. And she went whole food, plant-based, and she started reading up on the power of whole food, healthy food, dealing with MS. So a lot of these diseases that we look at. But you know what? Also, something that you hit me with, Dr. Walsh, when we talk about the connection between slave food, and all of us heard of the theme and concept of the Willie Lynch letter, how it once it was embedded in us. We passed it on from generation to generation. The real Willie Lynch letter are the recipes. Those recipes that came from the plantation.
Deep. That's deep.
We continue. This is my grandma fried chicken. This is my auntie. So those recipes, the slave master said, I don't have to worry about those Negroes. They're gonna make sure Eric Adams, first black borough president, hey man, he's gonna be blind. Ken Thompson, 50 years old, first black district attorney. We don't have to worry about him. Jesse Jackson's disease, food related. Look at the heart attacks, some of our great men, the carotid arteries. All of this is food related. And so the slave master is still sitting back, watching the beauty of his creation, and he embedded it in our recipes, and we hand it down from generation to generation and make sure that every time we sit around that table on Thanksgiving, we give thanks to that slave master, that turkey, that sugary food, that fried food. We when we close our eyes and give thanks, we giving thanks to that slave master for continuing to destroy our community. I'm like Kute Kinte. I'm free.
Well, and here's the worst thing. Worst thing, bro, President. Then we praying and asking Almighty God to bless the food.
Yeah.
And then and then Dick Gregory said, we you go to a funeral and we pray and cry over the person we put in the ground and then eat the very food that got them there.
Right in the next room.
So I mean, and it's a battle, and I think one thing I want you guys to tell us a little bit about how you broke free. I mean, this has been a lifelong struggle for me. Me and Chef Babette had some intimate talks about this in Inglewood. It's a difficult thing for me, and I would love for the viewers to hear you guys talk about. I mean, you've overcome all other habits and addictions and stuff probably, but how did you beat this one?
Yeah, and listen, I would be misleading if I didn't say those 2 weeks were not the most difficult weeks for me. I felt as though I was going cold because I went cold turkey like the chef did, Chef Davis did. I just made up my mind I was going to stop. And I'm out all the time. I'm at dinners all the time. I'm around this bad food all the time. But I made up my mind, and I really said to myself that, this is about life. And I really chose life. And then when I started to really dig into food and thinking, I said, we're being played. And I'm just not going to be played. I'm too proud to allow someone to play me. And there are days when I would pick up something I eat and I say, Eric, what are you doing? So people who go on this journey, don't beat yourself up. Don't say that all of a sudden I'm a failure. No, listen, anyone would tell you that has ever gone through any form of NA, AA, or any other A would tell you that if you fall, you stumble, get back up. A bend
Get
in
back
the
up
road
again.
is not the end of the road. All you got to do is make the turn. And that's what life is about.
That's right. That's right.
Let me stick this in there. When I did addiction medicine training, one of the things some of the addicts at the Veterans Hospital I worked at said is relapse is a part of recovery.
Mm.
So you learn your pitfalls, and I think it's funny. I had a pitfall today. I took we don't have no power, so I took them all to IHOPs for breakfast. And none of the IHOPs I could eat, so I got a salad. And my wife ordered some onion rings. And I bit one of them onion rings and I was sick instantaneously. And I said, you know what? You got to remember the focus. If you can't eat what they're eating, it's okay. Get up from when you're done, go buy a bag of fruit or something, eat that and keep going on your way or whatever. But you've got that resolve you learn. But how do you learn it? Sometimes you learn what makes you fall by falling. And the scripture says it like this: a just man falls 7 times, he rises every time. And I want to give people the encouragement that your justness, your righteousness, it doesn't come from the fact that you don't fall. It comes from the fact that you always get up. But
that's right.
I'm gonna throw one thing in there. One thing I tell my patients all the time. I ask them to visualize the worst case scenario. Visualize a horrible day when there's no power, there's no food to eat. And then now I want you to come up with every reason why you're going to make an excuse why you were unable to eat healthfully, where your intention is. Now come up with an answer to it. Now solve that problem in advance. So when I say like, oh, I'm busy, I was in cases all day. Oh, there was no food that was here and I'm starving and I have to stop off. Solve for that problem. You know it's going to come up. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
Solve for it. And like you both have said, you have to avoid that what the hell moment. That's really something that's in science. You have to avoid that moment, right? Where you say, oh man, I fell off. I'm gonna start next Monday. I'm gonna start January 1st. I'm gonna start after my birthday. No, you start the next meal is what you do, right? You start the next meal because every single time you have to say to yourself, what am I arming myself? Am I feeding my body to win the war? Because we're in this constant battle of disease, all of us. And because we know this, right? One moment you're well, next moment you're saying I have the flu or I'm sick or I have this. It didn't just start then. It started way before that moment. So that's key.
Well said. Now, let's ask ourselves this. How often do we hear this conversation in our community? This real talk. How often do we have this real talk in our community? How often do we go to church on Sunday where we get a lot of our information and that pastor stands up in the pulpit and have a real sermon on this? How often do we listen to our talk shows? Some of our popular talk shows with black people.
And here it is.
This conversation is so rare. It has to go from being rare. More people will embrace this if this become part of our everyday interaction.
Yes.
Beyonce.
Very true. Yes. Very true.
When Beyonce talked about plant-based, all of a sudden there was a spike.
Right.
So we have to start targeting our influencers, and they need to engage in this real conversation. You got 1 million+ followers, talk about this to them. Yes. You have people are following your music, talk about this. Where the number of young artists who are losing their lives due to health-related issues, we need to get them engaged in this conversation in a real way, and it's not enough conversations like this in our community.
And one of the things I'm gonna throw in there too as well is what you guys said I love is the fact that we have to meet people where they're at. And one of the things I never forget sitting inside the office and chatting with someone, and he said, Doc, I have roaches in my house. Doc, all I have is a microwave. And I was so thankful that he felt close enough to me to express what he was going through. That I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy frozen vegetables, right? I don't care where you get 99 cents, wherever else with nothing else in it. We're going to buy rice, brown rice that's there already. We're going to get your beans with no BPA, with no salt that's there. We're going to have it there so it makes it easier for you to put your meals together and focus on meal preparation, even beyond cooking. It's just a matter of let's put the meal together. Right. And as a matter of fact, what we started doing is we started doing a no cooking class. And the goal of that was for people who either are not inclined to eat, to cook, or for those who feel they cannot do it? Because here's the key thing. When you look at the FDA, when you look at federally subsidized foods, people who ingest federally subsidized foods have a higher occurrence of obesity, a higher occurrence of high blood pressure, a higher occurrence of heart disease beyond a shadow of a doubt. So when we eat the food that unfortunately our government speaks out of both sides of its mouth, it says, on one hand, I want you to eat healthfully. The other hand, I'm going to subsidize all the foods that are going to lead to your demise. And those are centrally located primarily in urban communities, right? At every turn you look, there is a fast food restaurant that melts in your mouth, not in your hands, and it's highly processed and refined. And that's the problem.
That's
It
so
is
true,
so
so
true.
true. You know,
Chef Babette, same thing. I want to. You've inspired me over the years. The first time I met you was in 2010, I think.
Wow.
And our boy at Compton High School. He's a.
Who was that? Where'd you go?
Dr.
No.
Wall. That's that bad internet service.
But I know
No.
he'll be back. He'll be back. But I know he was talking about really the issue that I think it was someone that was friends with Paul Pierce that put him in touch with you, and kind of walking through. But really, the key is, tell us about your journey in battling and overcoming these demons, the addictions, to really embrace this life. I mean, the challenges. That's really what folks are struggling with, because they feel as if it's too high of a hill to climb.
Yes.
It's too hard to accomplish. And so knowing that.
Just started just playing games with myself. I can remember, and I say this often, and I may be off whack, but it sounds good. I'll tell a person, if you burn yourself and it blisters, would you prick it and suck it? You know what they say? Oh, no. Well, why not? You put that piece of chicken in the oven and all that stuff oozing out of it. They told you that was juice. That's body fluid filled with pus, toxins, blood, and you don't have a problem eating that juice from that chicken. So I used to play games with myself to keep myself on point. You know what I mean? But after I went ahead and transitioned, I felt so much better. And everything started clearing up. And I kind of got a little, you know how you get when you're brand new vegan? You stalling everybody's plate and you're just annoying. I had a girlfriend at a dinner party. She didn't invite me. I was like, you didn't invite me. She was like, ain't nothing else for you to eat. That's because now I'm on teach mode. I want everybody to do what I'm doing, because all of a sudden I can digest my food. All of a sudden, I can use the bathroom but I'm gonna tell you, I did have a little help with that. I had to get on an herbal cleanser for several years before I got my gut right. And I took these things like every single day for probably about 3 or 4 years. And now I don't take nothing, because I'm like clockwork, you know what I mean? But if I could just share this whole transition, if people could just be where I was, what I felt like, what I went through, my life was horrible. I couldn't even wear anything backless. My skin was ripped. I don't even have a primary care physician right now.
At 70 years old.
I don't need them.
Wow.
I'm on no medication. At 70. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so this journey has just been it makes me want to cry, because it's been so incredible. And I just give so much thanks to the knowledge, to the man that's in my life right now that brought those books to me and said, here, read these. He wasn't even vegan at the time. And it's just been an amazing blessing. And I give thanks every day. So the best that I can do is be an advocate, because it all started selfishly. Now it's the planet, it's the animals out there. It's because I realize the oneness of all of us. We are all one. We are all connected in this. There is no separation. That which created me, I am just an expression of it. And I cannot disconnect myself from nothing that's going on around here. I'm one with it. So I'm going to protect it and love it like I love me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
don't need to kill nothing. It's
Come
time
on
to
now.
go.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just about to say, I don't have to kill nothing to nourish myself. My veggies and stuff have a season, and when it's time for them to be picked and stuff, I eat them. I ain't got to go out and murder nothing
Love it, love it, love
to
it.
eat some dinner.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Wow.
this has been absolutely amazing. You guys, I love this show.
Let's keep we'll keep the love going.
We
We will
got
keep
we
the
got to
love
answer some
going.
questions now.
We've got some questions that we've gotten, and a lot of dialogue that has been happening on the side, and just a lot of positive comments to the things that you all have been saying. So a lot of gratitude for the way you all are making it plain and bringing to light what a lot of people knew but needed to hear. So one of the questions that we received on the side was how would you guys recommend someone? How do they get off the emotional eating hamster wheel?
I have one thing to say.
And Chef Babette, if you could lean forward just a little bit, they
Yes.
could hear you a little bit better.
Is that
Okay.
better? Can you
Yeah.
hear
That
me a
is.
little better?
Yes.
Nourishment will help that. I'm gonna tell you how I start my day with a green drink.
Okay.
I get as much chlorophyll as I can possibly get. So I'm at work. I get up at 2:00 in the morning. I go to work. I'm prepping food till noon or so. Honey, you better get on some juicing, because I'm telling you, because once you get the nutrition, the message to the brain is that you're fed. You understand what I'm saying? So you're not just constantly eating, and it's too stressful to have to be, when you're transitioning, to be having to figure out what I'm going to eat every minute of the day. Let me get on something that's going to nourish me right now, and then I can make myself a meal and give it some thought, but I'm not desperately hungry for
I'm
it.
starving.
I don't know if that
Your
helps.
cells are not starving.
Oh no, that's great.
I hate departing, but I have
No.
8 o'clock. Yeah, I have an 8 o'clock another Zoom.
Oh, yes.
So
We
listen,
want to offer something to you, though, Borough President.
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
far, and I know once coronavirus is over, we will come to your borough. I love Brooklyn. We will go to your houses of faith,
I love
and we can put on whole programs from a medical perspective, but also from a very spiritual perspective. I'm also a pastor, and would love to go in and talk.
Let's do it. Love it.
So
I wanna
let's keep in
Absolutely.
touch. And you
All
can,
right.
Oh, for
Chef
sure.
Babette, we'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. And so we also had the question from Chef Babette. You had talked about mucus, and so people wanted to know more about the mucus.
Well, this is what, check this out. I don't know if anybody out there has ever done the master cleanse.
Okay.
You guys familiar with the master cleanse?
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay, so when I first did the master cleanse, I did it for 10 days. That consists of lemon juice, cayenne pepper, clean water, and they use maple syrup. Do you know, after about 5 days on that cleanse, and that's all I ingested, I could breathe. I had no mucus anywhere. At the end of that cleanse, it was unbelievable. Mucus is an issue with us. It is if anybody's gonna catch a cold, it's gonna be that person that's filled up. All I eat is white rice, white bread. I'm just eating a bunch of potatoes. I'm eating chips. I'm eating potato chips. I'm eating everything that is filling you up with this mucus. And Dr. Walsh will be able to break that down.
I'll break it down in a second.
Yeah, break it down. All I know is that's the stuff that we need to have less of in our system. Now I'm gonna turn it over to them so they can explain to you exactly what that mucus is.
I haven't read that book, but I talk to patients all the time who suffer from chronic sinusitis, recurrent upper respiratory tract infections,
Yeah.
severe asthma, things like eczema, and all of
All
what, to me, the
inflammatory.
way I would explain this medically is mucus is a marker of a hyperinflammatory or a
Mm.
pro-inflammatory state. Your body's in a state of constant inflammation. So what your body produces mucus to try and expel toxins, right?
Mhm.
So when you get a cold, the reason you get mucus is to catch virus. So when you sneeze, cough, the virus comes out of your body. It's a protective system to like get that stuff away. When you're eating empty calories in the form of white sugar, white bread, white flour, white rice, that happens. But the other one is dairy. Milk,
Yeah.
cheese. When I was growing up, my mother fed us whole milk. We were always sick growing up in Connecticut, constantly sick with runny nose, coughs, all that stuff. When I stopped, I to this day have never had any of those symptoms again. So I want to encourage people that turning down your mucus is important. And for the coronavirus, we know that this is actually very important because the last phase of the coronavirus is a hyperinflammatory cytokine storm phase that is propelled, I believe, by a lot of these foods.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'll just chime in real briefly. When we look at this inflammation in general, the same process that kind of leads to mucus formation inside the respiratory system and as well as in the GI can also happen. Not can, it does happen with the arteries lining the body, right? And so whether you go from head to toe, leading to strokes, leading to heart attacks,
Yep.
leading to issues of impotence, leading to issues in terms of peripheral vascular disease and cramping in the legs, it's all one effect. And so when we move away from these foods that essentially are toxic to our bodies, that impair our endothelium, which is the lining of the vessels and leads to this inflamed state, that's when we achieve more a healthy state, for sure.
And it can even lead to depression.
Yes.
There's evidence of that. We won't talk about that now, but actually can even lead to some of the mental health issues around depression and anxiety.
And Chef Babette, you mentioned a book about mucus, and they're asking for the name of the book. Did you mention a book?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
we put
think
it up.
they posted it, but it's called the Mucusless Diet Healing System by
Okay.
Professor Arnold Ehret.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Now, one of the other questions was, how did you become a chef? What made you open Stuff I Eat?
Actually, I thought I was a singer. Anyway, I went to Japan, and while I was there, I was doing recipes and working out, and everybody else was practicing music and writing songs. And when I had a quite a long time to do a lot of meditating, and through that meditation, I understood that I was supposed to be on this path. And when I got back to the States, I started catering. I called it Stuff I Eat.
Okay.
And one thing led to another, and we had a restaurant in Inglewood. So yeah, and so you can't prep food lest they're gonna call you a chef. So hey, it just stuck, But
Love it.
I'm self-trained.
Okay.
I just share my lifestyle pretty much. That's what we do.
And the restaurant is phenomenal. So
It is. It doesn't. It
Thank
doesn't take. It tastes like if you're
It's just
world
regular
trained.
food, right?
It's
Yeah.
good. It's
it's
good
amazing.
food. It's good food.
Yeah.
Great food.
And Stuff I Eat is located in Inglewood that we mentioned earlier. And Chef Babette, do you have a cookbook?
I do. I'm coming out with the second book. It's going to be an ebook, and it's called Stuff Your Stuff. It's actually savory food. The first book I came out with was desserts. I got a horrible sweet tooth. I learned to make all kind of wonderful
Me too.
desserts out of the cashew nut, and the name of the book is called Cash In on Cashews. Yeah, but y'all, I'm gonna turn that into an ebook. It's gonna cost less money. Right now, it's on Amazon. As far as I'm concerned, it's too expensive. So I'm gonna turn this into an ebook, and you'll be able to buy it, and I'll keep you posted and let you know. So don't go to Amazon and buy that. Wait for the ebook. Trust me, it's gonna be a whole bunch cheaper. But yeah, so I'll let y'all know when the new book comes out. But right now, it's Cash In on Cashews.
Okay,
All right.
fantastic. That was Cash In on Cashews.
Right.
Okay. And you had mentioned, that you were addicted to crack. And I think a lot of people just thought that was oh, she's just kidding. But can
No.
you elaborate a little bit more on your abuse and addiction that you had
Yeah, I was
experienced?
at the time I lived in Denver, Colorado. I was a flight attendant, believe it or not, and I somebody turned me on to it, and I had snorted cocaine before and didn't like that, burnt your nose up and everything, and then somebody showed me that, and I was like, ah, it's like pot. It's like that. You can just smoke it like pot. Yeah. You as soon as you smoke it, you addicted.
Yeah, because a
Smoke it
lot of
hard.
people don't come
And
out
so
on the other side of that one.
trust me, it was unbelievable. It was I and my only lasted 7 months
Yeah.
because I woke up in one of my mother's vacant bedrooms. I was sitting there. I had been smoking this stuff by myself, and I was on the floor. She didn't have any furniture in there, and I was going through a piggy bank. And I said to myself, what are you doing? This is not you. And I have not looked back
Praise
from
God.
that day
Yeah.
to this
Praise
day.
God.
I
Praise
was
God.
like, you done lost your mind. You in here going through a piggy bank. A
Wow.
piggy bank?
Right.
Really? I got up off that floor and I ain't never looked back. And I can remember when I went and got, I was working and something said, ooh, you got a paycheck today. Ooh, you could get good and high today. And that other voice said, and mess everything up.
Just go back.
Destroy everything.
Right.
And I never, 7 months, thank God, it was only 7 months, but it was horrible. So for anybody that gets caught up in any kind of chemical like that, and that was the lesson that I was supposed to get from that.
Right.
I'm not stronger than your man-made chemical. You got chemicals going on. I'm not stronger than that. I'm not.
Right.
No, I ain't got nothing for that. That's why I don't take your medication. I'm cool. Y'all had that. And so that was the lesson. So I have a lot of empathy for people that are going through any kind of addiction. You know, I don't know. Thank God.
Yeah.
Praise Him.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Absolutely. And everybody's addicted to something, right? So, you know, we
Absolutely.
can judge someone else's addiction to crack versus someone else's addiction to sugar versus someone's addiction to ice cream or French
Yeah.
I
fries.
needed that.
Or gambling.
I was supposed
Yeah.
to be on that journey. I was supposed to be on that journey. It wasn't supposed to last long, but I was
Right.
supposed to be there.
Well, I
Right.
mean, I think you're right. I think it's part of your life story. I think it was part of the plan for you to be able to come out of that and be able to use that experience to really help others transform. And you're using a
That's right.
platform that's meant for wellness, for good now in this particular instance of mind, body, and spirit. And so there's
Exactly.
a huge power in that transition that's there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I applaud you because a lot of folks sometimes aren't forthright with their challenges. And a lot of times inside this industry, we walk around as if we're on this white horse and on this ivory tower, as if nothing can touch us, as if we've never done anything bad or that we're perfect. And it's not about perfection; it's about being intentional. And that every day we're setting out to be better than we
Than we were
can
the
through
day
God's
before.
grace than we were before. That's all it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Well, I'm gonna check out here. You guys keep talking and
Where
wrap
you
up with your.
going?
It's her job. It's her job. But she,
I'm gonna stay on here with my queen. Y'all keep talking. I'm gonna just stay.
You're always welcome. This is a
absolutely.
team effort. Team
She's
effort.
so
Absolutely.
cute.
Yeah, I like to think so. I like to think so.
Yeah, of
Now,
course. You better.
that's right. That's right. So, what we like to usually kind of wrap up because we could literally go on for hours talking about what we're talking about because it's so powerful, really, in our
It
communities.
is. Right.
But I think one thing we like to end up with is once again hope. And your last words to give to the audience that's out there listening right now, the audience that may watch it on replay, give them some words of hope. What thing could you change if you could change anything? All
If
right.
I could
What would
change
you,
any,
if you could change anything, you have the power to make one change to impact folks, their communities, or their health. What would that be?
mm, In terms of the way that we nourish ourselves, I would change their minds.
Mm.
Yeah, because that's what it takes. You got to
Yeah.
change your mind. You know,
That's
it's
huge.
like nobody can pay you to put sugar in your car tank. Ain't nobody. You just ain't gonna do it. You're not gonna
That's
do
right.
it.
Mm.
You're
Never.
just not gonna do it because
Mm.
you know that sugar is gonna make a mess of your car.
Mm.
You believe that. You know that. Period. You got
Right.
to do the same when it comes to transitioning and cleaning up yourself. You got to be ready, and you got to know. I know that refined sugar ain't good for me. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like putting it in my car. As far as I'm concerned, I ain't gonna put it in my body. I ain't gonna put it in my car. I know that. I changed my mind because everything started working so beautifully, and I started looking better older than I did younger.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
oh yeah, this is real. Life is real. Loving everybody else is real. Allowing people to live, allowing beings to live and let live. That's
Yeah.
real. That's what I'm talking about. That's the blessing. If you don't have to kill it to eat it, why are you killing it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Let it
Hmm.
That's
live, let
powerful.
it thrive, let it go through life. Ooh, yeah.
That's
All that.
that's powerful. That's powerful. You're right. Changing our minds. That's where it starts. You know, Chef, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, this has
Pleasure.
been fun.
You're incredible. And you know, folks can tell folks where they can find you who may
Well,
not
you guys
already be
know
following
y'all
you.
can check me out. Follow me up on Instagram. I need to get to at least 100,000 folks. I ain't
Come
got
on
that
now.
far to go. Just go on, jump on Instagram, follow me. It's Chef Babette. Facebook, follow me on
She's so funny.
Facebook. Make sure you check me and my girl Tara Bennett Smith out on Sunday Bites and Tidbits. We have another a vegan inspired show where we talk to vegans. We talk to some of everybody. Well, I might catch a vegan at the store and be like, "You want to be on my show?" So yeah. But so yeah, I got the Twitter thing going. Somebody told me I need to do the LinkedIn thing. I'm on there, but I ain't done that yet. So yeah, those things. But
All
Instagram and
right.
Facebook for sure. Chef
Perfect.
Babette.
Perfect.
But
And
can
then
I
they
sing
could,
stuff? Can I sing the Stuff I Eat song right quick though?
Please do. Please do.
yeah.
Okay, so this is the song that my husband wrote for the restaurant, and he always asks me, "Did you sing the song?" So today I get to sing it. So here it goes.
All right.
Stuff I eat, stuff I eat. If you don't want meat, try the stuff I eat. 114 North Market Street in Inglewood, California. I sang it, baby. I sang it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You gotta drop that record. Drop that record.
You guys are the best. I love you guys.
Oh,
Thank you
love
Yeah,
so
it's
much
much
been
love
for
to
great.
you
letting me
We
too.
love
be
you.
here. This was
Absolutely.
wonderful.
We look forward to the next time. We're gonna have to do this again. And when this converts over into a docu-series, as we are hopeful, prayerful that it will,
Sure.
we're gonna be knocking on your door first and
Of
foremost.
course.
Absolutely.
Fair.
I told you that at the restaurant, remember?
Yeah, you did.
And you know what she did? She got on the ground, did like 20 push-ups. She said, "I could do it." I was like, "Whoa! I don't need you to prove it. I believe you. I believe you." She
You
started
know
doing
me too
push-ups.
good. You know me so good.
I said, "You ain't got to do no push-ups right now, though." But I tell you what, everybody in the restaurant was like, "Whoa!"
I
Look
know
at
it.
that.
Exactly.
Everybody's like, "Whoa!"
Thanks, you guys, so very
all,
much.
All right.
all right. Until next time.
All right,
Take care.
bye-bye.
Bye bye. All right, brother Eric. Last words as we sign out.
The only thing I'd say is two very inspiring people inspired me. This is it's not an easy journey, but it's a necessary one. And I think just listening to them, our people, need this inspiration, we need to know. I mean, Chef Babette literally, if you met her, you would never know she's going to turn 70 this year.
Not at all.
I mean, so she is a great, as well as the borough president. I mean, both just look phenomenal. And their resolve, and at the same time, their compassion is really moving. This is a taste of freedom. That's what this episode was.
Yes.
We wanted to show you some high-profile success stories from our community, people who are bigger than just their diet. These are restaurant owners, influencers, and politicians. And this is what Slave Food is all about. It's about something that the borough president said. He said, Nat Turner. He used that term. And our job really is it's not to harm anyone. It's simply to liberate folk from the bondages that the American diet, the standard American diet, really puts us in. So awesome talk today, and definitely got to have them back on, and hopefully we can do something with him in Brooklyn, because that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you, I figured I might be like this, is that I actually was just sitting back in more of a watching, because it was so powerful listening to them go back and forth and tell their stories. Because I think, although we see it all the time, and although there's certain segments that see that there's such power in nutrition and our choices to really transform life and health, and that leads to not only financially with being able and still there, I think the real key thing is we have to really truly make sure that we are we're engaging folks. And so I love this segment here, and I look forward to our next segments that are coming up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it up. I think next week we have, I'll put this up right now. We have two folks who are joining us. And so I'm extremely excited. Once again, we have Dexter Sherney, who is the president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, who will be joining us, as well as Dr. Ricardo White, who's the founder of Mastermind Institute, who specializes in addiction medicine. So we're speaking on, this is a segment of our Slave Food series where we speak to breaking the chains. And that's hugely powerful. And so, because it's about one thing, it's about really feeding our strength to fight, right? I mean, that's what we say. That's the intention
feeding your strength to fight.
Feeding the strength to fight. So we look forward to seeing you all back here next week, same place, same time. So that, once again, it's August 14th, and we're looking at hosting this at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want you to like this page. Slave Food on Facebook, Slave Food Project on YouTube. Share this, host a watch party. We need this information to transform lives. That's our passion. That's not about money. Yeah. Last week he said what? The business of business is business.
I love that line.
The business of business is business. Our business of health should be health. The business of health should be giving the message of health to as many people as possible. That's our business. That's what we're about. So looking forward to it.
All right.
All right, sir. Good to see you.
You too.
Everyone out there, have a great weekend. Take care. Stay safe.